Hi, it's Courtney again, back with more movie recommendations for Halloween. I kind of have a mixed bag this time. Some of it's kind of family appropriate, some of it isn't. Um, and like I said, it's not necessarily all my horror movies, um, you know, but it's also thrillers, um, and like I said, more family oriented stuff. Just anything that makes me think of Halloween. So I got kind of a little mixed bag of my DVDs here that we'll go through. I got 7 of them for right now. I just randomly grab a bunch out of my stacks. As you can tell, I've got them behind me, so I just grabbed stacks of them, like a handful of them, and that's what I'm going to talk about. First, I've got The Witches of Eastwick with Jack Nicholson, Cher, Susan Sarandon, and Michelle Pfeiffer. I love this movie. This is just a good movie. It's about 3 women who live in a small town in New England, and they kind of get together and they talk about what they think would be the best qualities of like the perfect man. Jane, who is Susan Sarandon, isn't married. Suki, played by Michelle Pfeiffer, was married. I can't remember. I can't remember if her husband died or he left her. It's between her and Alexandra, played by Cher. But Suki has tons of kids, and Alex has a daughter. Jane's a music teacher, Suki is a reporter, and Alex is a sculptor. But they get together and they talk about, you know, the perfect guy and, you know, what they imagine to be. And then all of a sudden a new man appears in town. His name's Daryl Van Horn. That's Jack Nicholson's character. And he has some of the, attributes that they were describing. And so, but he charms all 3 women. And I still don't understand how Jack Nicholson charms women so much. I don't know what it is. Every time I see him, I just think Jack Torrance in The Shining, and he's crazy, and it just makes no sense. But so it's never really implied if he's actually the devil or if he's just a demon. But yeah. So it's a rated R, so it's probably really not appropriate for kids. But I think maybe there might be a little bit of language and a little bit of like sexual innuendo, but I don't think it's that bad as long as you watch it with your kids. So it's about witches, so it's good for Halloween. But I love this movie. It's kind of a comedy, a little bit with dramatic undertones. So next, not really a thriller. It's not a horror. It's more of a thriller. This is The Crush with Alicia Silverstone and Carrie Elways. So in this movie, Alicia Silverstone plays a 14-year-old girl. Her name is Adrian, and she ends up developing a crush on this guy named Nick Elliott, played by Carrie Elways, who rents a room from her parents. So he gets a new job at a magazine and, tries to be a writer. And so Alicia Silverstone develops a crush on him. She's 14, and I think it's mentioned that he's supposed to be like 28. So, but she calls him and she sneaks into his apartment and does things, but things kind of turn a little bad for Nick when he kind of, brushes off Adrian's advances. His prized car gets vandalized, some of his things end up missing, and everything just goes downhill for Nick. And this, I love this movie. I saw this on TV like before I started 7th grade. I watched it with my mom and dad, and so it was edited for TV, but it's a really good movie. It's kind of like a teenage version of Fatal Attraction a little bit, and you know, Lisa Silverstone was like 14 or 15 when she did this. I think she might have been 16, maybe a little bit older, but she blew me away. She's just crazy in this movie, and it's a good paced movie, and it's thriller, and you know it is rated R. There's language and there's nudity in it. None of it's Alicia Silverstone's, so don't worry. It's pretty tame in that regard. That it's not Alicia Silverstone. You get to see Carrie Elway's butt, which I like that part. I like it a lot. But yeah, and Carrie Elway does really good in this movie too. I like how you can like hear his English accent sometimes, and I think he's supposed to be American, or maybe he's not supposed to be American. I don't know, but it's fun hearing his English accent pop through. But this is a good thriller movie. You hadn't noticed most of the movies that I'm talking about are the ones that have like those little snap open cases. Of course, the DVD's not in here, but you know, they just snap open. They always had like the little scene index on the inside of it. But so yeah, this is a good movie to watch. And like I said, I watched an edited for TV version with my parents. So you know, and it's up to you as a parent how old your kids are that you think they can handle movies like this. So next up, I have Exorcist II: The Heretic, directed by John Boorman, and probably one of the most laughed at sequels of a movie. And it went through tons of editing to get it to where I guess people would stop laughing at it so much. But it's supposed to take place 4 years after the first Exorcist, and Linda Blair's back as Regan MacNeil, and Ellen Burstyn's not in it as her mom, Chris. I think Linda Blair and Kitty Wynn, who played Sharon, like Chris's assistant in the first movie, and Max von Sydow in flashbacks, are the only 3 people that came back from the original movie to do this sequel. And so it's after the death of Father Merrin and Father Philip Lamont, played by Richard Burton. Yeah, Richard Burton's in this movie. He's assigned to go check out the death of what happened to Father Merrin in the first movie. And I guess they're also trying to see if Regan might still remember being possessed and try to learn about the last moments when Father Merrin was alive, when he was alone with the demon inside Regan, called Pazuzu. Yeah, it's a funny name to say. I can see why people laugh at it. But it's got a pretty good cast. Like I said, it has Linda Blair and Richard Burton. Max von Sydow's in it. Louise Fletcher's in it. She plays Regan's doctor, Dr. Jean Tuskin, who's trying to find out, about those memories that are inside Regan's head. And it has James Earl Jones in it, in like a very small role. So yeah, it's kind of a so bad it's good movie, and that's pretty much what some people call my taste. Not some people, probably my husband. My husband says I have really bad taste in movies. So, I may like some awesomely bad movies, but so it's rated R. There's language and probably like imagery. I don't think there's any nudity in it. Oh yeah, there is nudity in it. When they go to Africa in this movie. I'm not exactly sure which part of it, but Yeah, when they're there in Africa, there's a little bit of female nudity in it, but I don't know how many elements had to be taken out of like the original script, but I think it's supposed to be more psychological horror. But yeah, it's just something that you have to watch to see whether you'll like it or not. Because sometimes I don't really go by what people tell me. Like they say this movie's bad, don't see it. If it looks good and you want to watch it, which is what I did with this, and I like it. The version that I saw when I saw it with The Exorcist on a pay-per-view thing, it was edited. I think it's different from this one because there's a different ending from the one that I saw. So I won't spoil it, but but I like it, and I love Linda Blair. You put Linda Blair in anything horror, I'm gonna watch it, especially from the late 70s, early 80s, when she did a lot of horror films before she kind of did more kind of adult things. But yeah, so Exorcist 2 is a pretty good movie. You can just judge for yourself whether you like it or not. And actually, I don't have it in this pile, but I do have The Exorcist on DVD. But in this pile, I have Exorcist 3, or William Peter Blatty's The Exorcist 3. It was actually supposed to be titled William Peter Blatty's Legion, because it's based on the actual sequel novel to The Exorcist called Legion that William Peter Blatty wrote. So basically, this kind of ignores what happens in Exorcist 2 a little bit. It has George C. Scott in it as Lieutenant Kinderman. He was played by Lee J. Cobb in the original, but he passed away, so they had to recast the role. And so George C. Scott's Lieutenant Kinderman. He's on the case of the murder of a young boy, and when they go through the murder scene and their procedures, they find that there's connection between this and longtime murders of a killer called the Gemini, who's based on the Zodiac killer. And everything fits with the Gemini, but the Gemini's been dead for like 15 years. So and then Father Dyer from the first movie, not played by the same actor, but played by Ed Flanders in this movie. He was friends with Father Karras in The Exorcist. I know people have seen The Exorcist or you've read about it. It's pop culture osmosis. You know about it. But he used to be friends with Father Karras from the first one, and now he's friends with Lieutenant Kinderman through their bonding, and he ends up getting murdered too, and it really pushes Kinderman over the edge. And when they're trying to figure out who's doing these Gemini murders, the Gemini's been dead. Why does it have ties to the exorcism of Regan MacNeil? Why is everything connected? And this movie, I found it creepier than The Exorcist, and it still has to do with the main themes of the Exorcist movies, faith and the nature of good and evil, and everything that's going on internally inside of us. And some of us have demons, and some of us have monsters that we can't escape, and add supernatural elements, and you really can't get away from them. And Brad Dourif is in this movie. I won't give away too many details because you really need to watch this movie. This is a good movie, but Brad Dourif's in it, and he gives a really creepy performance. And there's actually a scene in this movie that does freak me out. Every time I know that it's coming, I have to hide behind my hands because I can't watch it. It scares me. So this is not a movie you want to watch at like 3 o'clock in the morning by yourself in the dark. But The Exorcist 3 is really good, and I've had this DVD for a while, but it's now out on Blu-ray with a lot of scenes that were supposed to be originally in William Peter Blatty. He directed this. They made him take things out and actually put like an actual exorcism in it to cash in on it being related to The Exorcist. So the Blu-ray has all of these like scenes that they took out, and I hear it's really good. If I had a Blu-ray player, I would probably buy it on Blu-ray, but I don't. So Exorcist 3 really is a good movie. So I would definitely recommend this for anybody who likes horror. I would not recommend you watching it with your kids unless maybe they're a little bit older. Like I said, you're the parents. It's up to your discretion if you want your kids to watch these things, but it's a really good movie. You should see it. If anybody gets distracted by these little stickers that I have up in the corner, I put stickers on my DVD cases when I get them so that I know it's mine in case like I ever lent it out to somebody. Because if you try to scratch that sticker off, you know, I'd be able to know that it was mine. Not that I don't trust people, it's just you never know. Somebody be like, wow, I really like this movie, I think I'm going to keep it. Not if it has my sticker on it, you're not. So, but yeah, good movie. Next up, okay, not horror, but still good for Halloween. A movie about witches. Practical Magic with Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman. It's also got Stockard Channing and Diane Wiest and let's see, Aidan Quinn. So it's got a really good cast. This is about the Owen sisters, Sally and Jillian. Sally is Sandra Bullock and Jillian is Nicole Kidman, and they're witches. And there's a curse on their family line of the female witches in their family that no Owens woman, will have a happy marriage or find love because their ancient ancestor Maria got involved with another man, got pregnant, and they tried to hang her for being a witch, and she escaped it, but she put a curse on her own heart so that she couldn't have love, no woman in her family could. So Sally and Jillian, they lose their dad, and then their mom dies of a broken heart, so they're sent to go live with their aunts, played by Stockard Channing and Diane Wiest. And Sally's more reserved, Jillian's more fiery, and Sally casts a spell to make it that the perfect man doesn't exist, so she'll never find him, and she'll never fall in love, and she'll never get her heart broken. But Jillian wants love, so she goes off, to find it. Sally stays behind. Eventually, her aunts cast a spell where she ends up falling in love and having 2 daughters of her own, but then the curse comes and takes her husband, and she takes her daughters to go live with her aunts, and she goes back to being reserved. Then Jillian gets involved with a man named Jimmy Angelov, played by Goran Visnjic from ER, and he's a real jerk, trying to keep this as clean as possible, language-wise. So he's, he beats Jillian, and Sally goes to help her, and he ends up, getting, poisoned and killed, and they try to cover it up, and then a detective played by Aidan Quinn comes to check out on the disappearance of Jimmy, and things happen between him and Sally, and other things happen, things between Sally and Jillian, and Sally and Jillian and their aunts living in this town where people think they're witches, and It's actually, there are funny moments in it, a couple of scary ones. It's more about family, you know, the love between Sally and Jillian, but it's a really good movie. Um, it's PG-13, so PG-13, not rated R. So, but it's a good movie. I love Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman in this movie. They have really good chemistry. So, yeah, I guess I would kind of maybe call it a little bit of a chick flick, but it's not that bad. I promise. I promise. Guys could watch it too. It's pretty good, but I like it. If you can't ever find the movie, or if you want to, this is actually based on a book by Alice Hoffman, Practical Magic. So, and I've got two more to talk about, and then I'm gonna have to end this video because I don't want it to run too long. Next is Creepshow. It's a collaboration between George A. Romero, the father of zombie movies, and Stephen King, the master of horror. And it's a horror anthology movie based on the EC Comics of the 1950s. In the way that it's told, the pages, it's set up like you're actually reading a comic book, but it's got real animated, real life segments, and the comic portion's kind of animated a little bit. But there are 5 different stories in the movie. So the first one is Father's Day, about a wealthy family, and the daughter killed her father on Father's Day because he was a jerk to her, and I think he was responsible for having her lover murdered. So it's called Father's Day. So guess what? He comes back, and he really wants his cake. And you'll have to just watch it to see how that goes. The second segment's called The Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill, and it has Stephen King, who plays Jordy Verrill. He's a mountain hick hillbilly who finds a meteor that lands on Earth, and it kind of goes a little downhill from there. The next segment, I believe, is Something to Tide You Over. It has Leslie Nielsen in a very non-comedic kind of role. He finds Ted Danson, who's been sleeping with his wife, and even though he doesn't love his wife, she's his property, and he doesn't like having things that belong to him being touched. So he takes Harry to the beach and buries him up to his neck in sand and leaves him there for the tide to take him out. But something later comes back on the tide to come after Leslie Nielsen's character, Richards. So that's a good segment. It's one of my favorites. Then the next one is called The Crate. It has Hal Holbrook in it, and he's a henpecked husband, henpecked by his loudmouth wife, Wilma, played by Adrienne Barbeau. He gets involved with his friend Dexter, a professor at the university he goes to, played by Fritz Weaver. He comes in because the janitor found a crate underneath the stairs from an Arctic expedition, and what's in the crate is very hungry, and it ends up putting Dexter in a corner where he calls Hal Holbrook's character, Henry, to come in and help him. And Henry decides maybe Wilma and the thing in the crate need to meet. So I like that segment too. It's kind of one that has me hiding behind my hand sometimes, even though I've seen it like 15,000 times. And then the last one is called Something to Tide You Over. Upson Pratt, played by E.G. Marshall, is germophobic millionaire who is a jerk. And one night the electricity goes out, and he finds that there's creepy crawlies in the dark crawling around, and they're about ready to creep up on him and treat him the way he needs to be treated, for basically treating everybody else like bugs underneath his feet. The ending of this segment is disgusting. It's disgusting. If you don't like bugs, I mean, I don't like bugs, which is kind of why it disgusts me, but my friend Chris from high school, he hates bugs. So whenever he would watch the scene, I think he would just like fast forward through it, or just like walk out of the room, not have to watch it. So that'll tell you something about that. But this is just an awesome movie. It's of course rated R. It's mostly like the language and strong images. I don't believe there's any nudity in it, but yeah, strong language and violence. So, but it's a really good movie, and of course everything Stephen King is just awesome. So, speaking of Stephen King, from my last movie that I'll talk about, of course, it's Stephen King's It. This is the 1990 TV miniseries with Tim Curry as Pennywise the Dancing Clown. And I hate clowns, but I can watch this movie because I know it's Tim Curry in a clown costume. And so that makes it one difference from the book, because in the book, even though you're given a description of the clown, it's still, this entity that you don't know anything about. So it makes it a little bit more frightening, but Tim Curry kind of hands it up in this. But I love it, and it's of course like the 2017 version that came out. It's about a group of friends, the Losers Club, 7 kids from different backgrounds, who face a shape-shifting monster, mostly a clown called Pennywise, that's been murdering the children of Derry probably for a very, very long time. And they encounter him during the summer of, I think they have this movie set a little bit like 1960, maybe 1959, but they defeat him, and they make a pact that if he comes back, because he's supposed to come back every 27 years, if he does come back, if they didn't defeat it like they thought they did, they will come back and they will kill it. Because it's mostly what brings them all together is the murder of Bill Denro's little brother Georgie, and that's kind of like the catalyst that brings everybody together. And time goes by, and children are starting to be murdered in Derry again, and Mike Hanlon, who stayed behind, finds a picture of Georgie, and he calls all the members of the Losers Club to come back to Derry, Maine, and fight it to finally kill it. And I love this miniseries. This is great. It has a lot of talent in it, as it goes back, and it starts mostly in the beginning with the kids, and then it comes to the adult versions of the Losers Club, and it's got a really good cast of the younger kids. Bill is played by the late Jonathan Brandis, and he was really good in this movie. I liked it. And then Seth Green plays younger Richie Tozier. and Emily Perkins from Ginger Snaps, and her role of Becky Rosen on Supernatural, because I have on my Supernatural shirt, plays a young Beverly Marsh. The other actors of the kids, they're kind of unknown. I can't think of them off the top of my head, but when they get to the adult cast, Tim Reed plays a grown-up Mike Hanlon. Most people remember him from WKRP in Cincinnati. I remember him as being Ray, the dad on Sister Sister. So seeing him in this serious kind of role, it's kind of different. Grown-up Bill is played by Richard Thomas, John Boy from the Waltons. Grown-up Ben Hanscom is played by the late John Ritter. Grown-up Beverly Marsh is Annette O'Toole. Martha Kent from Smallville. And Richie Tozier's adult role is played by the late Harry Anderson from Night Court. And grown-up Eddie Kaspbrak is Dennis Christopher. I know him from the movie Fade to Black. It's a horror movie that he was in like back in the 80s, and it's a really hard to find horror movie. So if anybody does find it or does have it, you're lucky. And let's see, make sure I didn't miss anybody because they're all on the cover. And Richard Major is adult Stanley Uris, and he was Dan Aykroyd's character's brother in My Girl. So, because I'm trying to think of where some of these actors are from, but there are parts of this that may be kind of cheesy, mostly with Tim Curry, because you throw something at Tim Curry, he's gonna run with it, and but it's about friendship and growing up and learning that how life was for you as a child is going to be different for you as an adult. And I really like this movie. I'm going to call it a movie even though it's like a miniseries, but I really like it, and I think everybody in the cast does a good job. I mean, the kids are kids, but when they have to really sell something, they do it very well. And the adult actors do a good job too. It's just kind of sad, Jonathan Brandis, John Ritter, and Harry Anderson are all gone now, so it's kind of bittersweet for me to watch it. But it really is something that every Stephen King fan should watch. And I think if you like horror, you should give it a chance too, because not everything it has to be blood and gore and camp and cheese. There can be real pathos to horror movies or things based around horror. So it doesn't have a rating on it, so again, I guess it's up to your discretion if you would let your kids watch it. But it's very long. It's 187 minutes. So might not be good for a child's attention span because they might get kind of bored with it, but it's really good. So I think any of these would be great films to watch on Halloween. And of course, some of them do play on TV all the time around Halloween, or maybe just where I'm at, they're always on. But I think any of them would be good for you to watch around Halloween, with your kids, with loved one, significant other, just you don't have to be scared, but unless you like to be scared, you can be scared. But if you want stuff with real like drama and actual like story, these are good things to watch. So I might get another video out again with some more movies. If not, I will probably be back in a while because my husband, like I said, is going to be on vacation, so I'll be spending, time with him doing things. So if it's going to be a while before I see you again, have a good day.